Welcome everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you a version of my it's one of my favorite foods. It is a staple. It's a perfect combination of fat and lean meat. It is, well, I used to call it growing up sow bosom, but the more common term for it is pork belly or pork belly. So yeah, it's sort of my take on a version of a crispy pork belly that you'll find in a lot of Chinese restaurants. But me, I don't like the skin really crispy. I like it done, but I just don't like that, when you tap on it like that, it gets a really knocking off like it's a rock. I just like it somewhere in between that. And so this is how I do this. What you want to do is you start with some nice, good, pork belly that's got a good layer of the skin on top. You don't want it really thick, but a nice 1/4 inch layer of skin on top. And you want to dry that out. This is something that you want to start in the morning, because traditionally they'll do all their stuff and then they'll set in the ice box overnight and the refrigerator overnight, and that just takes too long for me. So I like a nice, quick, easy pork belly that I can start in the morning and have for supper time at night. So what I do is I'll take it out and I'll just wrap it in some I'll cut it in my little chunks I like. Then I wrap it in some paper towels, put it on the plate, and set it in the refrigerator. And by the time I'm ready to cook it, come 4:30, it's dry enough the way I like it to cook it. And so what I do before I put anything on there is I take a little steak knife. Just 1 second here. Just a little steak knife, or you could take anything that's sharp or that you poke holes with, and you just take it and you just start to poking the skin on here. You don't want to go too deep because you want to keep the skin intact. You want to go into the meat, because if you do, everything's going to go through and it's not going to crisp up. And so you just keep poking this skin as much as you can, because this is what's going to cause it to crisp up when we bake it in the oven at a high temperature. It's going to add air to it, and it's just going to be delicious. So you just keep on poking it all the way up and down there. And so when you bake this, you'll start noticing these little bubbles come up, and that's these little pokes getting all bubble-fied. I guess that's the word, bubble-fied. But they fill up with air and the skin starts to get crispy. Okay, so that one is poked enough. We'll move on to the next one. Just lay that aside. And yeah, I use a wooden cutting board, but this is for meat only, and it's always washed and cleaned, so nobody won't get sick. So yeah, you just do that to the rest of this pork here. And you can use, they actually make things that do this with, that looks like a bunch of little nails and with a handle on there, and you just poke it a few times, but I ain't got one of them. Or you can also take some skewers and just take 3 of them and do the same thing just over and over again. The main thing is you just want to get a bunch of little holes in the skin, however way you got to do it. Okay, that's good there. And the last piece. I just like to do little pieces like this. I buy this pork belly at Costco. They cut it in thick strips. You can also buy the full pork belly. But I find that if you're trying to do large amounts of anything at once, the recipe really don't come out as good. So doing small batches, individual size, it just comes out so much better. It cooks faster. And it also prevents you from eating a ton of pork belly. So yeah, we're almost through here. And so what you want to keep in mind when you put the marinade on this meat is you don't want to put nothing on top of it, on the skin itself, because you want the skin to stay dry, because if it's wet and it gets wet, it's not going to crisp up, and so you'll just have a nice, you can eat it once you cook it, but it's just going to be really soggy. It's going to be a piece of fat, and a lot of people ain't liking that. Okay, so I got that all poked up there, and all this pork belly is nice and aerated there on top. So what I'm going to do now is take this little brush here, and in this measuring cup here, I got a little bit of Chinese shaozing cooking wine and some 5-spice powder. And that's where it's 5 spices. Got anise in there, cinnamon, a nutmeg, a bunch of spices in there. And this is where the flavor comes from. So like I said, again, you don't want to get nothing on top here. You just want to flip that meat over and take your little, and you can even do this with your hands if you want to. I just prefer using a brush. So you just take that and you just start painting it. Get those spices on there. Once the bottom's done, you just flip to the side here and keep on keep on painting it. And again, prevent it from getting on the top of it. If it happens, you know, it's no big worry, you just have to dry it off with a paper towel. Flip that to the other side. Paint that down there. And on to the next one. And after this is done, we're gonna make it a little suit of armor out of tinfoil. Keep all them alien signals coming from it. But what that tinfoil is gonna do is just gonna hold all these juices into the meat while it's marinating. And when you bake it in the oven, it keeps all the sides of the meat from burning while the tops get nice and crispy. So it's a dual purpose. And don't be afraid to touch it with your hands. There we go. You need a bit more. And the good thing about this marinade is you can use any kind of spice you want. I just like the flavor of the five spice. You can put a little bit of cayenne if you like some spicy in there. But you don't want to put no salt because you are going to put salt on top of this here. And that's where your saltiness is going to come from. There we go. At the bottom. Get this other side. So I like to do those. Well, I'll show you when I get to that point. Get the ends here, make sure you get that all through there. That's good. And that's good. Okay, so there we go. We got all these this marinated up. And so I will show you what I do with the tinfoil. Just get your little square tinfoil here. And we'll start with that piece right there. And you just lay your piece of pork on that tinfoil and just start making a box around it. You want to bring it up to the sides, up to where it is on the skin, just touching the skin, and you want to make it just as tight as you can. I mean, you can even come up above the skin if you want. That's no problem. Just like that. And do the same thing on the other side. If you make it a little bigger and you fold it in, the walls of it's going to be a little bit more sturdy, so it's going to hold it better. So yeah, even if it's above there, that's good. That's no problem. And the ends can be a little challenge, so you just want to like wrap in a box present there. Just fold in the ends and just keep it as tight as you can. As you can see, I'm not very good at wrapping. Come Christmas time, it's a nightmare. But so there we go. Wrap that in there any way you can. You just want to make sure that it is up to the fat at minimum and above it a little bit at best, and just keep it in there nice and tight, because that's going to save your meat and crisp with that skin. So if you can see, it's just a little bitty boat for it, and you just continue doing that with the rest of this pork, and then I'll show you what to do right afterwards. Okay, I have finished wrapping up this here in this little tinfoil boats. As you can see, it's all up to the fat, and they're all set there. So these things are actually, you just put these in a baking pan, you bake them in the oven. But so what I do now before I do anything else is I just take a paper towel, and I just want to make sure that the top of this is as dry as possible. You don't want to press down too hard or else the tinfoil is going to fall apart. But just dab it and get all that moisture off of there as you can. Good and dry. And then what you do next is you just take some salt. I just got some pink salt, fine ground salt, and you just sprinkle salt all over the top of that skin there. You want a good layer, and this is going to help draw some more moisture out of that skin, because after we put the salt on here, we're going to let it continue to set in the fridge for about another hour. I know it seems like it takes a long time all to setting, but if you do it the original way, you know, it's overnight. It's more of a process, and they boil it. But I just never like that. This way, the pork, all the fat is in the pork. If you boil it, some of that fat comes out of there, and so you lose a lot of flavor there. Yeah, just Make sure you get a good coating of salt on there. And then after this sets in the refrigerator, in the ice box there for another hour, or if you prepare this in the morning when you get up or during your lunchtime, you set in it when you put the salt on there. When you bring it back out of the freezer, the ice box, you'll just take another paper towel. It's gonna be wet, and you take all that moisture off of there. You just dab it, take all the moisture off, and then you add a little bit more salt and some spice if you want it. So yeah, that is how you prepare it. Nice little package of deliciousness here, and it's going to sit there. It's going to marinate with that 5 spice and the wine in there. It just is a fantastic way to cook it. So I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and when I'm ready to cook it for supper, I will come back and I will show you how I do it. See you in just a bit. Okay, we are back, and these things have been setting for a while. They've been in the fridge for about an hour and a half with the salt on top, if you can't put salt there. So now on top you can see the moisture that's being pulled from this pork. And so all I'm going to do is take a paper towel, just like before, and just give it a good wipe, and that's going to remove some of the salt and all the moisture that came out of the fat there. And that's going to help it get nice and crispy in the oven. And so how you cook it is, you preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and you set your piece of pork belly into your baking pan here. Now I put about a quarter cup of water in the bottom, just give a little steam there. And you cook them with these size things, I cook them for 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, I crank the oven up to 450 degrees and then let it cook for another 5 minutes. In that 5 minutes, the skin is going to start turning a nice golden brown and get puffy, and it's fantastic. Again, it's not crispy pork because, well, me, if I want cracklings, which is what I think crispy pork is like, the skin is, I'll just cut the skin off and deep fry and make some cracklings. I like the skin that it's done and crunchy, but it's not hardy and crispy. So that is the method I use for cooking it. And by the time, after 20 minutes, the water that's been in the pan, it is all evaporated off and everything's got a nice good coat on there. And once you crank that oven up, what you're doing is you're just broiling the skin, and it gets nice and hot and crispy and brown, and it's fantastic. And so I took it and wiped all the moisture off of there. It is dry now, and most of the salt, but during the process of setting there with the salt on it, the salt has went down to that skin and into the meat, so it gives it a wonderful flavor. So with like anything, I did some training for French cooking, and when you're cooking, whatever the main part of the dish is, so like here is pork belly, you want to make sure that the finished product is showing off the main product. So if you got pork belly, you don't want to dip it in batter and all this stuff and just hide the flavor of that pork belly. You want to make sure that the finished product is pork belly, and everything else you put on it, it's just to enhance and focus on the main product. And so what I got here is, this is the spice that I came up with. It's got Sichuan peppercorns and star anise and different spices there that I use in my Taiwan style fried chicken. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on top of this pork here, just a light dusting. It's kind of spicy, and of course I like spicy. Just a little light dusting. That way when you cut it off, you'll have a little bit of a bite, but not too much, because again, you want to be able to taste the pork, and pork belly itself has a wonderful flavor. So just like you're dusting paprika on something, just the same with this, with any spice you put on there, just enough to give you a little bit of a different flavor in each bite you got there. So that is all there is to it. Like I said, you put in your baking pan, about a quarter cup of water, in the oven, 400 degrees, 20 minutes. Don't open the door, and then change your oven temperature to 450, another 5 minutes, and after that it will be done. That is the beauty of cooking small like this, because you can make the meat uniform. It'll be this thickness on one side, it's going to be the same thickness on the other side, so there's one side it's not going to get done faster and burned. It all cooks through evenly, versus if you got a big old piece of pork belly the size of this cutting board, it's going to be differentiated. So this part's going to be too done, that part's not going to be done enough, and vice versa. So that's the beauty of cooking small quantities. You can cook it the same all the way through. And that's why things you get at the restaurant, they taste so much different, even though you do exactly the same thing at home. It's It's because they only cook it in small quantities per serving, and it just cooks better that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw these in the oven, and when they're all done, I'm gonna plate them up and come back and let you guys have a look and show you how I'm gonna serve these up tonight. So, all right, well, for me it's gonna be about half an hour. For here it's gonna be just a couple seconds. I will be back. Well, folks, here it is. It's just about my supper time, and this is how I'm serving my pork belly tonight. As you can see, it's got the nice brown, the fat, the skin part of it got nice and brown and not too crispy, but it's still done. I'm serving it with some pickled fermented Korean radish that I do it myself here in the kitchen. It's a spicy, tangy flavor. It's fantastic. Plus a handful of asparagus spears here, and this will be my supper for tonight. And it is very keto friendly. There's no sugar in it whatsoever. And I have finished it off with a tamarind lime chili sauce that I make. It's got tamarindo paste in there, some lime, cilantro, a little Thai chili, fish sauce. I mean, it goes really good with pork. It don't kill the taste of the pork, but it really enhances it. So folks, this is my dinner for tonight. Hopefully you're gonna try this recipe and like it. And again, if you do, give it a thumbs up and like it, or subscribe to the channel if you want, or just let me know you was there if you don't like it. So my name is Willis, and again, Lord keep you all safe out there during this time, and just God bless. Until next time, good eats.